Alright, so now we're looking at the actual source code, and what we have is a static view controller that rotates around, and we will get into that right now. These are the static view controllers, and they're going to rotate through this. Here's where we load up the data. I call this app coffee time. Loads up the data, puts it in the sections. This is using Magical Record. This is a helper third-party program for core data. There's a lot of commented out code because I was using this as a testbed workspeed. This is where the view controller tables have a particular position. They're in this array, and it rotates through the arrays. I put them in here, it automatically rotates through those. What I want to do is show some of the SQL routines. This is the header file, database routines. What I have in here is a filtering block. Use a block within, this is Objective-C. Use a filtering block in which to update the strings from the bucket, so you keep out certain elements that you want to filter out. Saving the user configuration. Let's see. We can get to some interesting code. Here's some. It originally started out as a dictionary. Here's some of the feeds being loaded in. Saving inside the block. This is using magical records to go through, and most of this is commented out. This saves all the picture files. Let's see. This is your standard core data stuff. Predicates, manage objects, sort descriptors, standard core data stuff. I don't think there's anything too exciting there. And let's see. This code looks pretty familiar. It's the same basic code. It uses a static cell. It goes through, let me go up to the top. It goes through and it saves. This is the user settings. Goes through the dictionary right here. Default information. Default context information right here. So you're loading up defaults for adding new context into this. This is part of a resource management system to where you'd be managing different people. You're adding the contacts and where they came from, their category, and so on. And this would be the defaults that's loaded up from the database. And if you don't have, if you're not starting a new one, then you're editing an existing one, in which case it would go down here and load up all the current contact information, put it into these strings, and then these strings are loaded up into the cells. You have the all the user information, and that's what you saw before when you were editing this big long screen. This manages the keyboard. This manages everything for you. You can control the grouping on this. I have standard heights and extended heights for if you're putting in special controls. That's one of the things that's nice about this, is that you can put in controls right in there inside of your view controller. And so everything's kind of all in one, and it's all scrolled, and it's all nicely done. Here's one that shows basically on off, so you can use that as a toggle switch. Let's see, this is the header. For header, street address, text string. This shows large amounts of fields. Can be displayed all in one. Has the header and then the raw data. What this also allows for is different size text. So if you have short text and longer text, you get the full screen area in which to edit this. And let's see, adding record, editing record, standard core data stuff, dismiss view controller, and that looks like it's about it. It's about it in there. Asset picker. Here's another one. Fetched result, table view, animation fade. Okay, so that's a lot of the UI stuff. Here's your standard core data stuff. There's nothing real special here, just a series of tables. The RSS feeds with the caching. What this does is it allows you, if you lose a connection, it allows you to still work, and you can also with Bluetooth be able to communicate with other people in your group. So if you remember the app has different categories. Those categories can be groups of people that you would define, and you can communicate with those different groups of people. And so you can Bluetooth, or if you lose your Wi-Fi feed. Here's the thumbnail picker. The thumbnail picker had to be modified so that it actually comes up with a larger one. Let's see where did I get this? I got this from GitHub. So there's a link from GitHub. And this actually works extremely fast. It's while we're digging into the code here, this works extremely fast. What I've done here is it has a preview, and you can look at the offset, the size of it, and what it does is it puts up a little picker box of all your different thumbnails, and you go through and you pick the pictures, and it's really fast. And let's see. This is a label. The label, sizable scrollable label, I believe this is it, TH label. Another third-party aftermarket thing that's used in here. If you look over here, you can see there's actually quite a few. There's the core data stuff. Quite a bit of that. Here's the main this was originally SQLite, and then I switched over. These were the SQL routines. I switched over to core data and used core data instead. Most of the code for the UI is done in the in code instead of as a storyboard, but I do know how to work with storyboard. I just don't do it that often. Here's another one that uses the storyboard, and let me see if I can shrink this down. That other one, that other app that I was looking at earlier, so you can see there's a storyboard. That's where I was showing the preferences earlier and showing how to use the same code over again. And so there's an example of a storyboard. Although I prefer writing in code, I do know how to do storyboards. This one is a little bit interesting. They use a HTML code for their help screen. I saw this example and used it. And so you go about screen here, and you're just loading up HTML code. So that makes it pretty simple to do. There's nothing complex there. Let's see. this is a shared project that I'm doing with someone that I met online, and it should be out in the App Store, and I'm going to be showcasing the app. We're going to be doing the graphics, and I'm working on getting the graphics for that, and that should be up shortly. So this is some of the source code for what I'm calling Coffee Time. It's a I'll get into what it solves. What it is a manages resources. So you have resources, and I'll get back into the program in the next video and show the actual problems that it solves.